Congressman Massey confronted Merrick Garland about January 6th, and specifically the question about whether there were feds in the crowd deliberately instigating the crowd to enter the Capitol building. We know that this is something that the feds like to do. They like to encourage people to commit crimes so that they can then prosecute those crimes. And he played a video, which I guess we'll play this video first. The video features some guy over the course of more than a day down in D.C., like in the night leading up to January 6th, on the night of January 5th, and then on January 6th, there's this one guy who is all over the place trying to convince the crowd to go into the Capitol. And you also note when we play this video, how does the crowd react? They don't want to, but this one guy is saying, let's do it, even if we get arrested. And there's a theory online. I mean, I don't know who this guy is, but the theory is, among some people, I think a pretty credible one, is that this guy's a federal agent or an asset. This is the video that Congressman Massey played for Merrick Garland. Let's play the video first. Here it is.
I know. In fact, tomorrow, I don't even like to say it because I'll be arrested.
Well, let's not say it.
We need to go. I'll say it.
All right.
We need to go in to the Capitol.
Let's go!
So I'm going to put it out there. I'm probably going to go to jail for it, okay? Tomorrow, we need to go into the Capitol. Into the Capitol.
What?
Peacefully. Fed. Peacefully. Okay, folks, spread the word. As soon as the president's done speaking, we go to the Capitol. The Capitol's this direction. He's done speaking. We are going to the Capitol, where our problems are. It's that direction. Okay, so you see there, one guy who has not been, I don't think he's been officially identified, but what we know is that he has not been, that guy who's on camera all over the place saying, let's go to the Capitol, even if we get arrested, like acknowledging that he knows it's a crime, trying to get the crowd to do it. He hasn't been arrested and charged with anything yet. Some of the other people, in fact, some of the people in the crowd who were saying no and calling him a Fed, they've been arrested and charged, but not him. What does that tell you? Well, that was the question that Congressman Massey had for Merrick Garland. Let's listen to that.
All right, you have those images there, and they're captioned. They were from January 5th and January 6th. As far as we can determine, the individual who was saying he'll probably go to jail, he'll probably be arrested, but they need to go into the Capitol the next day, is then the next day directing people to the Capitol. And as far as we can find, this individual has not been charged with anything. You said this is one of the most sweeping investigations in the history. Have you seen that video or those frames from that video?
So as I said at the outset, one of the norms of the Justice Department is to not comment on impending investigations, and particularly not to comment about particular scenes or particular individuals. I was hoping today to give you an opportunity to put to rest the concerns that people have that there were federal agents or assets of the federal government present on January 5th and January 6th. Can you tell us, without talking about particular incidents or particular videos, how many agents or assets of the federal government were present on January 6th, whether they agitated to go into the Capitol, and if any of them did? So I'm not going to violate this norm of the rule of law. I'm not going to comment on an investigation that's ongoing.
So that's a yes. That's a yes. Because if the answer was no, if there were no federal agents trying to rile the crowd up, then he would have no problem saying, no, of course that didn't happen. What are you talking about? There's no reason. I'm not going to violate the rule of law. The rule of law says you can't, if there were no federal agents in that crowd, the rule of law says you can't tell us that? What law is that exactly? Pretty clear what happened here. A giant setup. And now they're arresting, the guy with the buffalo hat, or the guy who took the podium and walked out with it. Every time I see Merrick Garland, he is the if you were to look up the term banality of evil in the dictionary, you would see Merrick Garland. This kind of empty, dull, just straight-faced, emotionless person. Nothing immediately objectionable about them, but then you listen to what he's saying and what he's doing, and it becomes clear. And also, by the way, Congressman Massey there, bringing up a very important point, getting the chance here to cross-examine the Attorney General. Congressman Massey is, and you know how I feel about politicians in general and about Republicans. I'm not a big fan of very many of them. I'm pretty harsh on all of them. It takes a lot for me to be impressed by a politician, but Congressman Massey is one of the few good ones. I don't agree with him. He's more libertarian than I am, so I don't agree with him on every single issue, but he's a talented and skilled politician, and a real valuable defender of the conservative cause, and someone who's actually trying to root out corruption in D.C. and putting his own career and reputation on the line in doing so. He's a valuable one. He's one we need. And he's also one, and you might not want to hear this, but he's one. Trump, when he was in office, tried to run Massey out of town. Trump tried to get Massey out of office. Because what did Congressman Massey do wrong? Well, he didn't show enough personal deference to Donald Trump as an individual, and that's why Trump hated Massey and wanted him gone. Even though he's one of the best Republicans we have in Congress, one of the few good ones, Trump wanted him out. Because Trump's flaw as a leader, his biggest flaw, and this is important to remember as we get into 2024, his biggest flaw as a leader, his fatal flaw, is that for him, when it comes to hiring people and deciding who to elevate and who to support, the number one qualification as far as Trump is concerned is how they feel about him personally, which means that he tried to run a lot of really talented and valuable conservatives out of town while hiring a lot of establishment swamp snakes and rats because they flattered him, as a fatal leadership flaw. I mean, you have to be able to recognize the talent and value of people, even the ones who don't personally like you that much. You have to be able to set that aside, especially when we've got a country to save here. Something to keep in mind. And that is a flaw that, as far as we can tell, Ron DeSantis does not share, which is why it's DeSantis 2024 all the way as far as I'm concerned. Listen, hit that subscribe button right now. Do it right now. I thank you for your compliance. It is somewhat appreciated.